truth that can set me free, about trusting the currents of amazing grace. Let me see with the eyes of God, let me love with the heart of God, let me breathe with the breath of God, let me live in the love of God.
The Masters of Wisdom speak on the Ascended Master Consciousness. The Bridge to Freedom Journal, December 1953. Lord Maha Chohan. Mankind, in contemplating spiritual food, so often delegate to the abstract the powers of the Comforter, and yet the most mundane activities in which the personal self can be engaged are oftentimes tremendous outposts of comfort to the bodies of people, to their mental well-being. All of those great avenues bring comfort to the daily life of the people. For instance, the manufacturers of mattresses and easy chairs, the sun lamp of therapy, the beautiful automobiles, the incinerator, the washing machine, the vacuum cleaner, just to mention a few, are actively engaged in furnishing comfort as much as the kindly doctor, the minister and the priest, the vocational teacher, or the inspirational writer. All of these, the great and the simple, have been and are our guests during the time when the blessing of the cosmic Comforter is flowing freely, even to him who gives only a cup of cold water in our name. Ascended Master Elmoira. The causal body which surrounds the electronic presence is about 100 feet in diameter around the presence of an unawakened individual. The presence which works at cosmic levels does not receive an expansion of this causal body until the physical part of itself consciously cooperates while in a flesh body and sends up energy qualified with perfection to expand its great life wave. Therefore, the presence is as grateful to have an individual consciously awaken and cooperate with it as the physical individual is to have the help of the presence. When once the student awakens to spiritual things, the causal body of the presence begins to expand, and it is able to do greater things at cosmic levels and has greater energy, fire, and power at its command. The causal body of the average metaphysical student shows a very large increase over the 100 feet status of the sleeping vehicles. Ascended Master Kuthumi. Oh, for a long time the vision has stood before the inner sight of those of us who have renounced nirvana to incorporate into the substance and energies of this earth the glories of the kingdom of heaven. However, again and again, as those souls we love so well were summoned by the lords of karma to stand before them to receive their heritage of good, and their heritage of evil to be expiated in the life to come, and as those bonds of forgetfulness closed the spirit's memory round them, have we been forgotten, and the pledge of the heart and the love of the lips and the enthusiasm of the soul carrying the weight of the creations of the centuries found not within the heart the stimulation to proceed. We who stand at the other side of the great abyss, awaiting the voluntary energies and the stirring of remembrance, thus find ourselves without a body in form. Can you then feel the depth of gratitude within our hearts when through those sweet outer minds you even acknowledge our presence? When, in the deep recesses of your heart, you breathe a prayer for remembrance, and when your feeling, weighed down with the accumulation of the centuries, asks for the fire and the courage and the constancy to follow the vision, and incorporating the energies of the self, helps us to externalize the God plan, which is for the blessing of all life. Ascended Master Paul the Venetian. The beloved Maha Chohan requests me to remind the earnest students that the great mercy of life allows the cosmic action of the law of love, compassion, and forgiveness to wipe out individually as well as collectively the mass karma created within the 12-month cycle, which is closed on December 31st. Where the actual motive of the individual or group was not to misqualify life energy or deliberately do wrong, this blanket forgiveness is sent forth to encompass all who care to accept its release, and forgiving mercy from the miscreations of the year. Thus, all life may enter the new year with an individual slate wiped clean of many of the errors of judgment and action which otherwise, by the unerring activity of the law of the circle, must return for redemption to its own creative center in some form of discomfort and unpleasantness. Let every life stream belonging to the evolution accept now the cosmic flame of forgiveness as it circles the planet round, and accept the freedom from mistakes of the past and forget them. Ascended Master Serapis Bey. The process of the ascension is the divine plan for every life stream, and when man at last stops his willful distortion of God's substance by finding the figures of his creation sufficiently unpleasant, we have a step in the right direction. But there is a long step between such dissatisfaction and the time when the individual will willingly dissolve his distorted creation, call to the Master Presence for the divine plan, and then have the patient humility required to fulfill it, molding the energy and substance of the earth plan according to the blueprint held in the heart of the Presence. The blueprint can only be found and studied in selfless humility, and that blueprint will begin to shine through the flesh form as the individual is sincerely determined to use all his talents and energy only in accord with God's will. Ascended Master Hilarion. The individual who desires to become a fuller expression of the Ascended Master Consciousness may use all his faculties to attract the beams of the gods into his world. Intense devotion and love open the doors of inspiration, and the gods speak to the higher minds and explain many of the apparent puzzles and problems of the lower world. As we progress into the New Age, we shall find the inspirational faculty developed by the masses as it was on Atlantis. Only this time, it shall remain lasting. Remember, your senses, each one, are a means by which you may draw the fullness of the Ascended Master Consciousness into your individual experience. Use those senses freely, through delicate perfumes, beauty of surroundings, harmonious music, and exquisite picturization, and then rise into the inspirational realm of spirit and talk heart to heart with the gods in the silence. Ascended Master Jesus. The Ascended Master Consciousness is one with the all-knowing mind of God as a collective whole, and with the component parts of the great divine mind as expressed through the individualizations of God who have attained perfection. The Ascended Master's consciousness does not connect with nor embrace the imperfect or human consciousness of unawakened individuals, and herein is their wisdom. Your consciousness is your world, and that which you are conscious of becomes a living part of your experience. To achieve and become the Ascended Master Consciousness, one must take the beam of his attention, fasten it upon the Ascended Master qualities of understanding, and draw back the living, breathing breath of the Master into his world. One must strictly guard the door of his individual consciousness against accepting any limitation by discussion, thought, feeling, or reading. You will remember that Saint Germain stated that if the masters themselves keep their attention on the problems of earth for any length of time, even they would draw themselves downward. In other words, pollute their consciousness with conditions of limitation. Ascended Master Saint Germain. What is the cause of freedom? God. The God identity of every man has within it the inherent, inbred realization that freedom and godliness are one. The divine fiat of life is expansion, unfoldment, perfection, all of which qualities require freedom in order to manifest. A tightly closed rosebud requires freedom to become a full-blown rose. Even the power of Helios requires freedom to shine. An animal, plant, tree, or man requires freedom to breathe. There is no such thing as progress or evolution or in fact being without freedom. You might say, freedom is God stretching out his arms to increase. Freedom is God in action. The quiescent God sleeping through the solar night does not taste of nor enjoy the fruits of freedom. But when the first stirring takes place in the cosmic dawn of a solar system or in the birth of a bird, freedom stirs. I am the son of freedom. It is my great privilege to expand the cause of freedom on the earth plane. It is not a quality which is injected into a life stream, for love of freedom is inherent within life, as is the love of life itself. Freedom and expansion are one. Freedom and activity are one. Freedom and God are one. In this new day, dedicated to the freedom of the entire planet and this system of worlds, you will see the God power stretching forth and bursting the chains of limitation.
Could they know the truth that can set me free about trusting the currents of amazing grace?